All right. I'd like to call to order the North Canton Special Council meeting August 3rd, 2021. Time is 5:02 p.m. Opening prayer. Dominic, would you like to lead us?
I sure would. Please stand. Lord, thank you for letting us get together on this beautiful Ohio night. Thank you for letting us get together on this beautiful Ohio night. Gorgeous weather here in North Canton. Lord, help us to ascertain and guide in the best knowledge that we can provide to the people of the city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
Member Warren? Here. Member Schroya?
Here.
Members Revolt and Soretta are absent.
Motion to excuse member Soretta and member Revolt.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Larry Tripp, 1127 East Maple, North Canton, Ohio. What type of a pattern is North Canton government falling into? Last spring, 2020, our government was gung-ho on the renovating of Bitzer Park. Nothing this year. Absolutely nothing at Bitzer Park. Last year, North Canton government was gung-ho on the purchase of Kmart. What's happened with Kmart? Nothing. Money gone. Money gone. Last year, North Canton government increased salary levels for everybody to raise their salaries this year. With the word going out, we're not giving salary raises, we're raising the levels. Folks, I'll be sending you an email to show you who got raises this year. It starts from Diorio and it works down to Ben Young. And superintendents, new hires, everything. And now they want $500,000 to complete a park. That's on top of the $250,000 from Children's Hospital, which, by the way, is nothing but North Canton money. As you recall, you had an agreement with Children's Hospital that they would pay the city income tax and you would the city reimbursed them a certain amount of money back. So much, 50% the first 2 years, I believe, X number, I can't remember which. So all we're doing is we're paying the $250,000, not the Children's Hospital. So now, $500,000, it's costing the city $750,000. That's on top of grants. That's on top of donations. Where's the money going, folks? What are you paying for? Don't blame it on COVID. Don't blame it on COVID. You can stop that for this year until the prices go down. Why can't you? Are we trying to make the mayor look good to get something done by October the 15th so he can show his constituents we got a park done this year? Is that the game plan? I don't know. But 500,000 folks on top of 250, $750,000. I don't know what happened to Main Street getting repaved and everything for $1.1 million. Is that 500,000 is coming from streets and gutters? Drive up and down Maple Streets. Look at the gutters. You'll see grass growing out of the streets, as I mentioned to Rob not long ago. It's terrible, folks. And yet, where are the sidewalks? You've got a big event coming up. I hope nobody gets hurt on the sidewalks in Main Street. Think of it, 500,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to address council? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. At this point, I'll turn it over to Catherine Farina. Has PowerPoint for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm going to present again tonight. Back in 2017 is when we first started talking about the park program, and I think it was 2020 when I gave another update on Dogwood Park. We're calling this Possibility Playground. We're building a first-class, fully inclusive, accessible destination playground that'll bring together families and caregivers of children of all ages and abilities. We're calling it Possibility Playground, a place to dream. Anything's possible in a world where we can see past differences and embrace everyone's individuality. It's going to be a premier park. Parks like this do exist in communities north of us, south of us. It's time that we have something for our residents. So I've given you all a layout. You have a hard copy of the inclusive playground, which includes 2 new picnic pavilions, improved parking, and a brand new restroom facility. And we'll talk more about, but briefly, you can see the layout would be to the west side off of Orchard. We have a new parking lot going in there with a picnic pavilion, and there's a pathway up then to the playground area. Also connects to the current existing Dogwood shelter. And then you see the playground with the expanded, improved new parking in front of the playground, a new restroom just to the east. The new 7th Street parking is noted on there, and that's also expanded and improved. And I'll continue to break it down a little more. So the playground, what is it going to look like? Well, there it is. It is going to be fully fenced in. It's a steel black fence, nice high quality. It's going to provide safety for the children, especially for children with special needs, and an added level of security for caregivers with children that, may have a tendency to wander. So there'll be one main entry. It's an 18-foot wide area, and there's an opportunity there and a rendition that was drawn of maybe we could later add an archway and pillars for donor recognition. So that is what it will look like. That's actually imposed on our current space. You can kind of see Dogwood Pool over to the right-hand side.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Sure.
So there'll be one entrance, one exit?
Right, one way in, one way out.
And then truly all of these items that we see are the things we've bought?
Yes, yep, I'll go into it more. Here we go. So actual total square footage of the playground is 23,500 square feet. There's some typos, I'm sorry, in this, but there's a variety of play equipment. There's 65 pieces of play equipment. There are 10 adaptive pieces, and 10 adaptive pieces of equipment is the most in the area. I mean, it is not just one adaptive swing. There are multiple pieces, and they're not pieces just for children with disabilities. There are pieces for all children to play on, but that's the point of an inclusive park, is it is mixed in. It isn't relegating adaptive equipment to one area. It's mixed throughout so that children with special needs can play with their typical peers and interact and socialize. It's what we do today. Schools no longer keep children isolated away in a special education classroom. It's an inclusion, which is bringing children with special needs with their typical peers.
Now, when you say we have the most in the area now, are you saying Stark County? Are we with like Summit? Where are you saying?
As far as inclusive equipment, yeah, I'm saying Stark and Summit. I've looked at playgrounds in Jackson, in Greene, in Plain Township, and they all have a bit, but we're really going to have a lot. And I mean, we have had calls from parents that have said that. They have said, I have a child with special needs. I have a handicapped equipped van. I have a child. And then I have my typical children as well. We can't enjoy a park in our own playground. We have to drive to Greene or drive to Medina has a nice playground. There's some adaptive equipment, like I've said, in Plain and in Jackson, but ours will really have quite a bit of really nice, high-quality equipment. Extra wide ramps with handrails everywhere. That's part of also the adaptability, where a wheelchair or a child that has mobility issues has stability.
The picture I'm looking at, does that represent 23.5 square feet, 23,500?
23,500 square feet.
I mean, it looks
Turf
small here,
and
I see,
yes, and
but
it's-
obviously, that's
And
huge.
you're looking at it from the background, I also want you to see that square there. That's where the pavilion will be. So this is kind of turned around. The parking lot's in front of the playground there. The playground company provided this rendition. So, you know, the parking is in front of the playground, and the mulch area is towards the back of the playground. So that'd be back by the trees of Dogwood Park. And we've separated into two areas. So we have a toddler area. When you come in, the toddler area is to the left, and that's for, you know, smaller children, smaller play equipment. That provides additional safety. You don't have the big kids on equipment kicking and knocking over toddlers. We had focus groups. Patrick and I, we went out with Brian Hill, our park superintendent. We visited parks. We pulled parents aside and we said, what do you like? What don't you like? That was something that was a concern, is that there should be an area for smaller children. So we have that. Then we have in there, we have a music sensory area. That's important to have for with children with special needs. Like I said, the equipment is very high quality. It's from Snyder Recreation, and the manufacturer is Burke. The surface that is going down is an ADA rubberized mobility turf surface. That's the green part. So a mobility turf surface allows for wheelchairs, for crutches, but you know, it also allows for a grandparent or a caregiver that may not have a child with special needs, has typical children, but all of our parks currently have wood mulch. That means that grandparent has to watch from a distance. They can pull up and maybe they have to sit in their car in the parking lot, or maybe they're back on a bench, but they can't be engaged with the child in play because they can't get into the turf area. So this will provide what they call a multi-generational play experience. And then we do have the turf surface in the back. In the back has the really exciting equipment. We have zip lines. Those are very big. If you speak to the parks director in Green that has zip lines in a few of their parks, they are highly popular. And also rock climbing walls don't exist in any of our parks, and we do have a couple of really cool, very big rock climbing walls.
Are those behind the playground equipment?
You can see them right there. There's one right there with a zip line. The zip line is in the mulch area, and right there's one of the rock walls, and then there's a smaller one to the left side.
Okay, gotcha.
Can I make a few comments?
Sure.
This is a great future facility for so many reasons. One, you use the turf where you need to. You got the sidewalk for handicap accessibility. You're talking about not just disabled kids, but you're talking about their siblings, their families, so everybody gets involved with this. This is a great concept. Kids can spend hours out here playing and moving from different feature or amenity forward. The zip line, I've experienced with that at Springfield Township Parks. We wear out that. They wear out the zip line.
Yes, I've heard that.
And we have to replace, so be ready for that as far as maintenance. I mean, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That people use these facilities when you build them or the concept is presented, and you don't want them not to. So the more people, families, the better for the community. The only thing I see lacking down the road, that's something that'll be developed once it's all installed, is some kind of shade structures here.
Yes.
Because you will have families
Yes.
there that don't want the full sun, and I'm sure that's a concept we can visit later.
Shade, vinyl shade structures would be
Yes.
nice.
Or some
And-
small trees in that area, but I think that's going to be critical for families to use and just get out of the sun. But, you know, this is a fantastic, like I said, concept, development. Everyone's worked hard on this. We commented on it in December, so here again.
Yes.
Keep going, Kathy. I'll have other comments.
I was
but
going to say,
it's
the one
exciting when you see
shade
this.
area is the pavilion, a brand-new pavilion is going to be in that place, and that'll be inside the fenced-in playground. All of it's fenced in, from turf to mulch, everything's fenced in. So if a parent comes in, they've brought a picnic lunch and juice boxes, and they want a place to just sort of land and sit in the shade, and there will be picnic tables in there. Dominic?
I think we all can agree this is awesome, but here's the elephant in the room. So the bottom line is, why are we here today?
Can I finish just going through it? We probably could get to that.
It's about the money, isn't it?
Right, I want to
All
show
right,
you first
all right.
what you're buying. So traditional, when we talk about swings on the playground, traditional belt and bucket swings are there. We also have the adaptive swings for kids with core muscle strength issues, and a real neat concept called a connection swing for children with autism, because it's 1 in 50 children today. So it engages eye contact and facial expressions. There's a lot of benefits in therapy for inclusive play. We have a zero-grade inclusive orbit spinner. That is something that you can see in the second picture a wheelchair can roll onto, can spin with typical children. I will save time and just say that the other items are up there that you can see if you want me to go through this quickly. You know, more swinging equipment. A lot of these things engage things that physical therapists and occupational therapists do work with children with special needs, but they benefit typical kids. Typical kids just play on them, and children with special needs get great value from them. So then if you build it, they will come, I said, but then did they ask where will they all park? So once you've built this beautiful structure, now we have to talk about parking. So what else are you paying for? The old parking that we had. Currently, we only had 2 handicap parking spaces over there at the Dogwood, and we have 29 regular spaces. Our Dogwood shelter capacity is 150 plus. You have a graduation party there, you've seen the cars. So the overflow parking goes into the streets of the residential neighborhood. That equals a lot of complaints. So there's not enough parking, you know, hardly sometimes for the shelter, let alone when we have community events over there. So, and the current parking doesn't really have curb. Our new expanded parking, 7th Street parking, and the playground is going to go from 2 handicap spaces to 9 handicap spaces and go from 29 regular spaces to 51 regular spaces. Then the new Orchard lot is adding an additional 27 regular spaces and 3 handicap spaces over there as well. In addition, you'll have new sidewalks and pathways from the parking lots to the playground and also to the new restroom facility. There'll also be new curbed parking and also a new wider entrance into the parking lot. If you've ever looked over there on 7th Street, the entrance to the parking lot, it's pretty chewed up on both sides, and we're gonna repair that as well as repair the sidewalk in front of the park, because as we bring many new people there, you know, we wanna have a nice sidewalk.
That's a nice
The restroom facility, if you've ever been over there, the one that's there has probably been there for 40 years and is nearly falling down. So at this point, we are gonna have a new precast concrete facility. It will have 4 individual stalls, unisex individual stalls that provide safety. Parents today, you don't send your child into a restroom. So you're a dad and you came with your little girl and she goes into a restroom. You don't know who's in that restroom because it has 4 stalls in there. It's one. You could open the door, see no one in, put her in there. It's also unisex or can be family restrooms. They all 4 will have changing stations because this is a playground for children, and it's no more just the restrooms for female have changing stations. Sometimes dads have the babies. So changing stations and all 100% ADA compliant, COVID compliant, all electronic flush faucets and hand dryers. These stalls have an anti-graffiti coating on them to keep them nice, and there's a timed electronic lock system so that the park superintendent can set these restrooms to open and close at certain times. So that is the new precast restroom facility that's also part of this.
Catherine, is that going to be the same location where it's at now?
You can see on your site layouts I gave you, it is just to the east of the parking, and there's pathways to all of it.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can see that's where it is.
I got you.
The 2 new picnic pavilions that are also being purchased are inside the playground is a 20 by 20 picnic pavilion. It has a tan roof and black poles. Over on the Orchard lot is a 20 by 34 picnic pavilion. It will have a blue roof and black poles. Those are not exact up there, those are renditions. They have concrete bases, they have low maintenance metal roofs, they're 100% waterproof, they provide shade, and in the winter they have a high snow load capacity. So speaking to shade structures, for example, those have a low snow capacity, and sometimes you take them down in the winter and put them back up. So these are nice metal roofs, low maintenance. So that's, I'm just, wanted to show you briefly what it is and say that's the possibility. Let's make the possibility a reality. And again, I covered this in a previous, as far as everything we're improving, the surface, the layout, the parking, making it multi-use, safe.
Kathy, can you remind, what's the state putting in?
The state, Patrick, the
Yes.
state is putting in,
Yes, I wanted to get back to all that.
Yeah.
If you were done with your presentation.
just a few other things. New drinking fountains, new benches, and then the timeline. I know people are wanting to know. The Orchard parking lot, fencing is up, excavation beginning. End of August, we're gonna mill the 7th Street parking lot, demo the old playground, begin construction on the new playground parking lot, install the playground turf and mulch, pathways and finishes. We're looking at a late October, November finish, weather permitting. And the next step will be a groundbreaking ceremony.
Catherine, I have a question. On this, you're showing from where the restrooms are.
Yes.
Are we going to have a path that goes all the way out to Dogwood?
We were going to have that path there. Now that path has been cut for now, just until we determine what we're doing over on that side. We can add that later.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
that
by
was,
adding that, you're actually increasing your parking capacity. you'd be well over 100 parking spaces once you finish that path there.
Right.
Total park.
We're not doing anything with the skate park, parking lot, basketball court, or skate park
Okay.
on the east side of that plan.
As you move forward, that's, you'll be able to add, because how many parking spots are over there now? 10, 12?
Oh, yeah, just a handful in that, over the skate park. Okay, so Stephanie had a question on the state funding.
Yeah, I want to,
Remember the amount?
so I would like to just, recap for everybody, and this is for benefit of those members who couldn't be with us tonight that wanted to hear, everything that we were presenting, so I want to, out of respect for them, make sure that we do that. So just give me, 10 minutes, and then I'll be able to answer all your questions, too. So I just want to take you back to 2017. Now playing. We did a presentation to City Council, PowerPoint. We put the community boards in the lobby of City Hall for months while this was vetted and people could look at this. And we said then, as we submitted this to the state, this booklet that I have here, this is what we submitted. Here's what we said about Dogwood Park. Dogwood Park is at its core a neighborhood park. Although well-maintained, there has been little infrastructure investment since its creation. There is a very small playground area consisting of 4 features: an enclosed bifurcated pavilion and a small parking lot. What we had initially proposed to you in 2017 is exactly what we are bringing to you tonight. The Dogwood design creates a dedicated, fenced playground that would be by far the largest in the city park system, encompassing in excess of 22,000 square feet. The playground would include standardized and custom play equipment, plus a story walk component, and the library is moving forward with the story walk component. A fence of stone pillar and wrought iron would add a sophisticated decorative appearance while keeping children from wandering too far. There would be a new trail to better tie the park to the Stark Park system of trails that run nearby. Parking would increase in capacity in a non-orthogonal manner. Remember that word? From 25 spaces to 87 to support the increased use, and is designed with child safety in mind. New outdoor restroom facilities would also be needed near the playground and the trail to support the increased usage. In addition, we would introduce a performing arts facility to support indoor-outdoor childhood productions. That's what we said that we would do. So with what Catherine has proposed, this is in fact what we are doing. Now, however, we talked, Stephanie had a question about the state funding. So when we made 2 requests of 3. It was a 3-phase ask, according to our representatives in Columbus, how they asked us to structure it. The first ask, we got $750,000, and that was going to be administered by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources takes a 3% administration fee for processing your paperwork. Doug, you know all too well about those things. The second go-around, we received $500,000 from the state on the second go-around, subject to the same 3% administration fee. And then this fall, we've already been in touch with Senator Olsleger and, Representative Olsleger and Senator Schuring with the details for our third ask on this phase. We've asked the state for $2 million on what we believe was a $6 million project for all 3 parks. Dogwood was one of them. So we've received 1.25 from the state. This was a public-private partnership, and we have solicited donations from those that were interested in the particular parks. So Dogwood had a lot of interest, and we were successful in getting a number of contributions to up our amount. $250,000 from Akron Children's, $250,000 from the Hoover Foundation. Catherine applied for a separate grant on her own to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for playground equipment, received $116,000. We've gone through all these numbers with you all before, but it was just a refresher. And there were a number of other smaller, lesser contributions, but still important to you. As you recall, Mayor Wilder led the Community Energy Savings Program. And he successfully concluded that project, and that resulted in a $35,000 contribution from American Electric Power towards this park project, so et cetera and so on. Now, back then in 2017, we said, hey, this is, obviously going to cost money, and we had put together a projected budget of what we knew at that time. And for Dogwood, what we knew at that time was we could figure out the earthwork, demolition, engineering, surveying, all the things that would be necessary to do the park, with the exception of the pavilion that Akron Children's was going to do. We didn't have a design on it. We didn't know that number. That number was not included in 2017. The playground, we didn't know then what we know now, and the yeoman's job that Catherine has done in researching all of this and working with affected parties, occupational and physical therapists at Akron Children's and other special interests, parents and the like, that were able to give us valuable information. So that playground wasn't configured in this, but back in 2017, with what we did know that we could do, was 1.2 million. So this is not a surprise. This has been out there for, the better part of 4 years. Now, the parts that we didn't know, let's add in now today and then compare it to where we are with what we know we got in as far as the project bids. So we know that the playground equipment was something that we were able to acquire through state contract, state pricing, the best pricing available. In fact, we tested that. We got pricing separate from that and compared it to the state pricing to make sure that we were getting the best. We did. So the pricing for the playground and the undergarment that goes with it was $600,000. So you add 600 to the 1.2, you're up to 1.8. The bathrooms were not configured. We didn't know how many stalls we would need. We didn't know if we were going to build them, have them made for us, or do a prefab. So we know, based on that the restrooms cost us 180.
179, and that's also through state contract Sourcewell.
Through state contract at the best pricing. You add that in and you're at $2 million. So, it's right where, the bids came in at 1.9 million and change. So, it's right where we're at. There's nothing different, unusual, out of the ordinary. 4 years since then, as we've really got into this park and as they've done their field trips around, and we've seen, there's a lot of demand for this park. We need additional parking. We're going to need it. And the Dogwood Pavilion, if you remember, 4 years ago, I told you that we did a sample of a 12-month period prior to this presentation then, and we had 365 rentals in 365 days. There's a lot of people that use this facility. So we certainly don't want to be pushing them out into the neighborhoods to park and walk long distances. So enter an ability that we were to do a ground lease with, fortunately, the Masons group that stepped forward and leased that spot to us so that we could put in additional parking and an additional pavilion. So that's included in that bid number of the 1.9 million in change. As far as the Akron Children's Pavilion, in what we had designed for them, they felt that they may be able to deliver something more in line with what they were hoping for, and also with that would meet the community standards. So Akron Children's is running lead on this project now to build the pavilion there, and we said that we would hold space open in between the skateboard park and the playground. That's why that green area is in there. And here's what they said to us: we'll handle this, we'll design it, we'll engineer it, we'll pay for that, and we'll bring this project in line with what our donation was, and if it isn't, we'll raise the funds necessary to make it happen. Sweet. So I think that's a great deal for the city, and we'll allow that to proceed, and they've already engaged an engineer architect to start. They're hoping for construction in the spring. So as far as the funding comes with deadlines. So the state of Ohio, this is a good lesson to learn for new members of council that may be coming on. that you have a certain time frame to use the grant dollars. They are not in the business of giving grant dollars away to see it sit in bank accounts for a decade. There are other communities that can use the projects. So if you don't use the funds, you're going to really hurt yourself. You're going to pay penalties for not using it, and you're going to affect your ability to get future grant dollars from them because you'll have that track record. This requires reporting on our end that Catherine handles and provides to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. So why are we here tonight, Dom? Yeah, that was what you wanted to ask. So it's this is our time to put in our portion of this overall park project. So to this date, we didn't ask the city for any funds as it related to Bitzer Park and the engineering, surveying, architects, tree surgeons and tree doctors that we had to bring in to satisfy people that eventually killed the project. So all those funds were expended and they came out of these grant dollars that were there. So what we said back then in our submission in 2017 is that the city of North Canton would put in 10% of the overall project. The overall project for all these parks is $6 million. So we budgeted some money in another line item, as you're aware. Yes, it's in the streets department, but it was not intended for street paving. It was intended for acquisition of land on a potential eminent domain action, and we have been able to work with the affected property owners, and we believe that we're going to reach a solution where we don't need to utilize all of those funds for that purpose. We're going to be able to get, I think, just the portion of ground that we need so that there is available funding, that we're not going back and asking for funds that weren't already allocated for something else. Questions?
600K would be 10%. How much are we needing?
We're asking for 500.
Okay, so you're 100,000 less, so that's positive, correct?
Well, we do believe that the city has contributed in a different way. We started on this project a little bit early when we had some dirt become available. So, of course, the Dogwood playground is going to be built where the old ice skating rink was. And that was very deep. It was 6 feet deep. And then even if you filled that, that's still below grade. So there was a lot of dirt that was required, and we were able to do that. And then there were also some trees that were, as a result of the tree surgeon coming in and recommending that we take care of some of those trees, we did. And that was not the group that took care of them. They had no conflict of interest. They had no dog in the hunt, so to speak. And so we believe that that portion has been covered.
So you're 500K, 100 less, which is positive. Here's a question for Kathy. Kathy, out of the 23,000 square feet, parking, whatever, what do you think is like a normal capacity this park could easily handle people?
The number of children and
Yeah,
families playing in
children,
it.
parking, whatever. Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know, the playground company hasn't really given me that, but
I was just curious,
Question.
like, 100 people a day, 100 people a visit. How many people can it service? Because that has a lot to do with the whole thing. I like the plan, the way it's set up, and I like that you're keeping the park there and expanding it down the road, and I understand about the pavilion, because we chatted about that with the situation and the cost. I think since Dogwood's there, the school's there, the parking, the entertainment, I think that's a good spot for it, and tying Stark Parks to it, because that's huge. So I'm good now with that explanation. That was really good to remind me of 2017. I forgot about all that.
And just to touch base on, you reminded me also that, in spite of, protestations to the contrary, I work in this business, so to speak, with economic development, talk with builders, developers regularly, daily, all the time on projects that are moving forward and not moving forward. And if you read the national press, if you read the business journals, the financials, to say that projects are not being affected by COVID is crazy. Okay, so they are being affected by COVID, and it affects it in all kinds of different ways. Not just from the pricing of the material is higher, lumber, steel, whatever, and we see, that there was a giant surge in lumber costs, and those costs have kind of come down to pre-pandemic, but not other things. But then also with labor, there's a lot of projects in demand with a short supply of labor that creates imbalances there. But then it also comes down to logistics, the scheduling. You've got to get everything in the right order at the right time in order to make it work. So, for example, Catherine, knew and had come to me and said, "Hey, listen, I'm concerned down the road that on the delivery of the playground equipment, it has to be trucked in, and I'm concerned with what I'm reading about that there are issues with getting trucks and capacity to get it there. What happens if we do this project and we're ready for the playground equipment and it can't get here?" So she says, "Is there a place that we could store it?" And I said, "Yes, there is. There's the Kmart facility." So several truckloads have filled that southern end of that building with this equipment waiting. So we didn't want to take that chance. Logistics are real. This is all real. So this has been one of the most difficult and challenging projects that I can imagine ever working with, because of every time you think that you had a handle on it, a curveball came up. But the project is too important. It's been, in the development stages since 2017. We feel that we've, in spite of all that, got it to a point that's in line with what our expectation was from 2017. And it's a matter of, do you want to move forward and commit the funds so that the project can commence?
Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember, and thank you for reminding us all about 2017. I remember when Oshliger came, I remember the park projects. I look around at other communities that took advantage of that. Jackson has a huge amphitheater right now.
Yeah.
That was because of so much state funding. They completed the job, they finished. I want us on that same path. This presentation was great, and it's just a reminder of the asset that we're going to have. And I want us to be known for that, and I want us to be known for diversity and inclusion. I still remember that email we got even from the Urban League, and diversity is many aspects. And so for us to have this playground that can benefit so many families that have children with disabilities is fabulous. I have a nephew who has Down syndrome, and my sister-in-law faced a lot of challenges in having to go to different parks and organize different events, and this is great for that. And Dominic, I think when you said the elephant in the room, there's no elephant. The money was not.
I get that. It's just that he had to explain and remind us all. So
I want to clarify, because I don't want our community to think that we didn't want this park and that we're not going to take the state monies or the 500 or close to 600,000 in grant monies because people believe so much in that. That's not an elephant in the room. That's something to be proud of, and I think this park is going to be fabulous. And it was something we were lacking in North Canton. And so to have this is what we're on track for. This is what the community members, when we were at the community meeting, said the other night. On all those whiteboards and all the little Post-its, they talked about more venues, more park equipment, more street festivals. Well, great, this is a new venue that we can do that at, and we have 3 more pavilions to do that. So we're on track, we're doing the right thing, and I could not be more proud of it. So thank you, and thank you.
it's the
I know what
kitty in the room.
did, for all this, so thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, the last slide I just had was about the collaboration from the community. I had that before. I mean, that's who all was involved. This wasn't done in a vacuum. There were a lot of people from the school to Akron Children's Hospital to reaching out to other communities. And, Patrick, one thing he didn't mention too on the percentage, that the city's putting in infrastructure. Brian Hill with water distribution and running water and sewer and storm and everything we're doing there too. That's another part. When you were asking from the 500 to 600, that's what we can count as what we are all doing in that
You don't have
infrastructure.
the collaboration on that projects. So, and when you talked about Bitzer, and I looked at the expenses, and I think maybe Rotary even needs to know that we've had expenses, because we weren't just going to throw up some shoddy pavilion in the middle of that park. It was going to be done professionally, it was going to be a center that we could be proud of. And so there were some things that we had to look at. And it stalled for the moment, but I hope that as our city, and we can allocate funds for it later, and we'll find other community partners.
Yeah, and there may be community partners that are interested in those specific things, just as this was the East Maple project.
That's what we started with.
There are folks that are different that are interested in helping there.
So shall we get the show on the road?
Well, I just have a few comments, Pat. First of all, it's a great presentation, Catherine.
Thank you.
And it was a nice reminder to the 2017 proposal. Although it wasn't completely accurate, you over-delivered. in parking, in pavilions. Yeah, you absolutely over-delivered. And the same argument that I made back when we received all the criticism of putting money into Dogwood Pool. And the criticism was, well, only a small portion of the community uses it. Well, the pool is one of the things this community is known for. It's a beautiful amenity, and I will contend until the day I die that facility, along with this, is going to keep the prices of those homes in that neighborhood at a pretty decent level. And I've lived in this ward almost my whole life, exception maybe 5 years. And those homes back in here are post-World War II row homes. Most of them don't have basements. But you see what some of these houses are going for, and these are the reasons. These are the reasons that young families can come into the city of North Canton, invest in a property and live in a community, in a home that, in any other community would be half the price. So, good on you, Pat. I mean, both of you guys, you did great, and you did. Everyone did great, and all the benefactors that was on that list.
President Peters?
Yes, sir.
If I can add a comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
This whole last term for me has been kind of a marathon. And going back to 2017, it has been quite a process, and I've learned a lot about pretty much the things that you highlighted, Mr. DiOrio and the council, in trying to move things forward and getting projects done. As much as I am excited about putting a shovel in the ground, I would be more excited to be there for the ribbon cutting and celebrate that with citizens and residents and visitors to the city. And what I found too is that we do have a number of projects going forward. Many times we're in non-disclosure agreements that we can't really share with the public just yet for a number of reasons. But I think what I like about this city, and especially for this park, for families and people and visitors to come to, we have a safe community. I don't want us to forget about that when the people will use that park, they know they're going to be at a safe location, cared for, maintenance. And that is going to be a goal that we will have to do. Because I think, Doug, you've always talked about that. We have such great facilities, but we don't have always the amount of people to maintain that facility. And this will take some time, or that will be an obligation on us to maintain, the safe use of the equipment. So I encourage, the vote for the support of the allocation of the $500,000 to go forward. And the sooner we can do that, I understand we'll have some other readings, but I can enter into a contract with the developer and we can go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I had a couple comments. Great presentation. Listen, this is great for North Canton families, as everyone said, not to be redundant. We all said those things, and very proud of where we're going with any park improvement. Obviously, my background. Pat, really to break it down in a more defined sense. So what we're looking at here is 1.9 million overall, roughly. Is that correct? You correct me if I'm off. And we have grant dollars, Ohio Capital Improvement Fund money, Nature Works Fund money, Hoover Foundation money.
Correct.
And you're asking for 500,000 to get to the 1.9.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Less than
So for
10%.
25%, basically, let's round up.
It's our
So
portion.
you have just kind of a $2 million, let's just say $2 million, because, we've already put sweat equity in it and administrative oversight, and our workers have done some things out there. For 25% of the cost, we can have a $2 million park. Let's break it down. That's what you're asking. That's not even a question to vote no on. That's automatic. Where are you going to get, you say you put in anything in life, you pay 25% of it and it's yours? You take that deal every day.
All day.
So that's my point here, to break it down in simplest form. You get a $2 million park for us putting $500,000 of taxpayers' dollars, but we're represented to do that. So I'm very much in favor of that, just to break it down that way. And I look forward to this, and as you said, Mayor, not just the groundbreaking, but the dedication.
That's right.
Because it's been a challenge with COVID. It's been a challenge to get contractors out here. It's a challenge for the expenses that go up with the cost of freight, the cost of the playground equipment itself. It's on state contract, that rises every year. We got to strike while we're involved. We come too far to let it go.
Yeah,
You got to finish it.
COVID is a real issue.
And
It's
I look
not,
forward to that day here very soon. So thank you for everybody's involvement in this. Thank you for the support of council and administration to move this forward.
So this goes along with the Main Street plan, parks, walking trails, safety, community. So I think, Pat, that's always a good reminder to hear the history on where we were, where we're going. And even if it is 25% of the smaller amount, the 2 mil, or 10% of the 6 mil, either way, it's a good investment in our community. I was just curious on the volume of activity. People will get to enjoy that, which also helps them understand that this is a great community to live, work, and play, which is what we've been pushing ever since I've been around. So I'm all for it. Let's get on with business.
One last comment. There was detractors when we purchased Arrowhead, and I know we've had our ups and downs with management and so forth. Are they here now? When we're going to be the only game in town and that facility continues to improve, you have to have vision. And we've had vision to support this, not only with the administration, but for council, for a majority of council members, I hope. Yep. And listen, that decision looks better and better and better. Us to put more money in the pool, as President Peters indicated, that decision looks better and better. We're the only game in town for municipal pools. Damn right. And we're proud to have it, and we're building off of it. It's that, and real estate, the market. What's this do to the market?
Remember that they talked about one of the best communities to retire, small communities. We're in the top, 43? What is it, Pat?
We're 7th best retirement in Ohio.
Seventh, wow. So we're just going to continue to get better. We just have to be smart, and I think this is a smart decision. Thank you.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Let me weigh in for a second. I can tell you, I had a proposal for a garage. I have a 3-month lead time on it, and it's increased 40% over the last, I think, 16 months. So even the smaller projects are still affected, unfortunately, by COVID. You wouldn't think that, and it's very annoying, but it's true. Let me just weigh in without being redundant, but great presentation, Catherine, Patrick. I appreciate the fact that that was done through state pricing as well, which is, I think, a huge selling point. I hear a lot of people talking about parks and the larger parks, they're open and they're unsafe. So that fence going around, not only does it look nice, but that's a huge safety point right there. So you go to Green and it's wide open. Yeah. I mean, your kid could run into the swamp there or something. I mean, it's, yeah. Yep, that's a very nice feature to that, I think.
Yes, these are parent issues, that we know. Your heart drops when you turn and that child's gone. So
absolutely,
to provide that security is wonderful.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm all for this. Let's move it forward.
yeah, Matt, I agree. As it relates to, I was thinking about putting a driveway in, and that's on the back burner. Yeah,
Just straight in.
yeah. I mean, the effects of COVID, what it has had on supply chain and materials.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And to deny that that's why we're still wearing masks.
Yes.
Right, Larry? Okay, so let's get to it. How about a motion and a second to suspend Rule 24, City Council, and permit the consideration of what will become Ordinance 49-21 without a committee report?
Foltz makes that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. And a motion and a second to read by title only Ordinance 49-21.
Foltz moves.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the City of North Canton to be appropriated for current expenses related to the Dogwood Park Improvement Project during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
Okay, I think we've talked it all, so I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to adopt the first reading, Ordinance 49-21.
Foltz moves.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we adjourn, quick reminder, we're meeting tomorrow morning and Thursday morning, 7 a.m. for the second and third reading of this ordinance. And See you then.
See you then.
Thank you.
Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn?
Motion, second.
All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dominic.